So Governor Snyder went before Congress. I didn't know anything. It was a failure on multiple levels below me. Nobody told me how serious this was. So he basically claimed ignorance. He was just charged with willful neglect of duty. I'm not a lawyer, but willful neglect of duty would imply kind of asleep at the switch, neglected to act. But we know from previous reporting and your experience, not only was he was acting to obstruct investigations. Can you share your experience? Because when he was leaving office, he had approached you to basically ask you to stop a federal investigation of him.
He wanted me to, in fact, speak with Elijah Cummings, Congressman Elijah Cummings. And I remember because it was the same day we were at the state capitol because now Governor Whitmer was getting sworn into office. And that was the first time I'd seen Governor Snyder in a while because, after our last incident where he told me Flint needs to get over it, that really drew the line in the sand, and we did not have much of a relationship after that at all. So that was my first time seeing him. So we're talking, and I just happened to say, so how are you doing, which is a normal thing. And he said, well, he could be doing better and I could help him. And I said, well, how's that? And he told me that I had a lot of influence with Congressman Elijah Cummings. And if you could get him off my back, that's what he wanted me to do, get him off my back with this investigation, that would be helpful, and that I could do that.
So, just so the audience knows, Elijah Cummings, before he passed away, was the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Snyder had testified in front of the House Oversight Committee, claiming, I didn't know about this deadly bacteria that killed a lot of people here. I didn't know about it till January 2016. Our reporting has found, not our opinion, prosecutors concluded he knew about it a year and a half earlier, shortly before his reelection. So Congressman Cummings wanted to drag Governor Snyder back before Congress because, I don't know, I think perjury is still a federal crime, I think. Yes, and, but, obviously, Congressman Cummings passed away.
But he was coming after Snyder because he called me. He called me and told me he was going to have him come back before Congress. He wanted him back. I said, I want to be there. He said, you will be front and center. I will let you know. And then he did pass. And I know that was just a big relief for Governor Snyder because he would not have asked me, can you go and talk to him? You have a lot of influence with him and you can help get him off my back. I said, oh, I'm going to talk to him all right. And I can't wait. And he didn't. And really, I'd already talked to him. We'd had that conversation when he said, no, I will have you right here with me when that happens.
Because it seems to me, Governor Snyder, he's had an army of lawyers, by the way, paid for by the taxpayers of Flint and Michigan, because his legal bills were charged basically to paying taxpayers. But what's interesting to me is our reporting has clearly shown, and none of it has been disputed, to be clear, has clearly showed that Governor Snyder, his chief of staff, and the head of the health department, Nick Lyon, who was charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role in the water crisis, we got their phone calls. And those phone calls, this was a long time ago, we're talking October 2014, they were on the phone rapid fire over 2 days, 22 times, and the prosecutors had kind of done an analysis on how often did they speak on the phone and found not much. It was just this heavily concentrated blitz of phone calls right before Snyder was up for re-election. And at the same time that they were on the phone, the health department and the environmental department were trading communications about Legionnaires, including one environmental official calling the health department and trying to stop the health department from making a public announcement about Legionnaires. So the question then becomes, you have, not my opinion, prosecutors concluded they were on the phone basically trying to stop this from going public. Then you have, just a year later, phones mysteriously be erased. State officials don't just delete their phones. Obviously, you were a mayor. Obviously, this is coming from somewhere above to get rid of your messages.
But it lets you understand why we had to hire our own chief public health advisor, because we knew those kinds of cover-ups were going on. People were not saying what was going on. We could not get information. And so there was no reason for us to trust or listen to any of them. And that was one of the things I said, no, we need our own, because we don't know what they're doing, but we know they're not sharing information with us, and we know they're covering information up. And it continues. It continues until this day. And one of the things, I heard you talk about this, for Snyder to say he didn't know, and was Rich Baird acting, was he a rogue and just doing this? And I had enough interaction with both of them to know.
I want the audience to know Richard Baird was Governor Snyder's top advisor.
Right.
By all accounts, well, actually, Baird said so, I'm his fixer. So kind of his right-hand man.
But he didn't operate in a silo. Governor Snyder knew when Rich was making a move, and he knew what that move was. And so for them to say he did not know is preposterous. It just didn't go that way. It didn't go that way. And if it does, if it did, you don't keep a person that is under you, that operates by themselves around. You let them go if that's the case.
Because Rich Baird was charged with extortion, perjury, obstruction of justice, and the misconduct in office. Again, the governor's closest advisor was charged with all these things. And one of the couples that he offered to pay for their treatment, according to them, Richard Baird said, I'm going to go tell the governor about this pilot program. So it kind of goes to, was Governor Snyder on vacation for all these years? How does he not know about this? Which brings questions to, we don't know what the evidence that the current Attorney General presented to a judge. So did they present any of this evidence that we've found?
And that's a good question, because I remember when they came to talk with us, one of the things they said is, oh, there's all of this evidence, and that's why we need to start over, because things had not been presented, and we have more. And we want to make sure that, that there are not only charges, but there are convictions, and that's when you started hearing that great cliche, justice delayed is not justice denied, and what the people of Flint were going to get because we deserved, this justice. And then all of a sudden, you hear charges are coming, criminal charges are coming, and we find out it's a misdemeanor. Everybody else underneath Governor Snyder can get charged with real criminal charges, but he gets a misdemeanor, and we knew that he knew. It wasn't a secret. That was not a secret. He did know. He knew these things. And it just baffles me. It baffles me. It makes me angry, too, though. And that's what we keep saying is we want some accountability and not just charges. We want some real convictions. Do you think they're going to happen? I mean, we can't even get the story out. People don't even want to talk about what's going on. They want this story to die and go away. And that's been the plan this whole time. They never expected it to get to where it got. They never expected me to be able to declare emergency and get this kind of attention, and in fact tried to quiet me from the very beginning. I just am difficult to make quiet.
The current investigation claims, well, we're still investigating, but how does one investigation find evidence to charge willful neglect of duty, which is the misdemeanor, misconduct in office, and apparently they were headed towards involuntary manslaughter, but this current one, again, we don't know what evidence they even presented to a judge, only finds a misdemeanor. It's interesting to me because this current investigation basically howled this 3-year investigation before us, they messed up, but this current one, it's basically trust us.
But what's interesting about that is that was why they did not support the Attorney General, Bill Schuette. They did not support him because of what he was doing. Those were some of the conversations that I heard, is we're going to go and support Gretchen Whitmer for governor.
You're talking about Snyder and the Republicans.
Yes, that's who I'm talking about, because they did not like what Schuette was doing. And they knew that he was coming for criminal convictions, and they didn't want that to happen. And so that's why I'm saying this was supposed to go away. And they got behind her. And, and it was just amazing to me because, and I've said this, you've heard me say, I remember going into the conference room and I look around this big table and I don't need to be introduced to anybody except one person because they're all the same people that were in place with Snyder. I'm like, what's going on here? You go to the first state of the state, and she's, giving Eric Oswald praises. I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how many times we sat at City Hall around a conference room table fighting this man for justice for Flint residents, and you're singing his praises and giving him accolades? What's up with that?
Governor Whitmer also, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you spoke with her about needing funds to help with interior plumbing, I mean, Jesus can bless the water and send it through new pipes, but if the pipes inside your home are busted because of toxic water, you're still going to have things, heavy metals leaching off. So you had, tried to get Governor Whitmer to assist with funds, and is it not correct? She basically told you, people are tired of this?
They have Flint fatigue. They have Flint fatigue. I said, well, what do you think we have? You don't think we're tired of being on bottled water? Don't you think that? That's not something, what's so exciting about that? If you would fix it, you wouldn't have Flint fatigue. And that was what I said. You want to close down these water pods. Give us what we need. We don't want to need a water pod. Who wants to go and stand in line for water all the time? Then we have all these plastic bottles all over the place. We're tired of it. So fix Flint, and then you won't have Flint fatigue. But that's what I was told, is we've got Flint fatigue. I thought, wow, how dare you?
Well, what's really appalling about that, I don't know Governor Whitmer, but the media has painted her as a national hero. President Biden was reportedly considering her very strongly to be vice president, and part of what she ran on was Flint. So it's not like she's the janitor, she's the governor. So if the state legislature, which is Republican, has Flint fatigue, you could fight for it. You're the governor. You might not win, but you could fight.
And that was what I always said, because I remember they said, you're not going to be able to declare an emergency. You're going to get turned down all of these steps of the way. I said, you know what, that's fine, but they're not going to say I didn't ask for it. And so you ask for it, you fight. But to just say, people have Flint fatigue and I can't get that. I thought, but this is what you said you would do. This is what you campaigned on. And now all of a sudden, you're tired of Flint? You got what you needed, and there were all of these promises made, because we talked about the appliances and what people needed in their homes. We talked about, keeping these pods open until we got the pipes completed. That has not happened. We talked about keeping these meetings in place so the community could stay informed. All of those things that we've talked about did not happen. None of them.